And quick smile, Muppet smile. Okay, welcome to Stone Soup Poetry, and thank you all for coming tonight for an all open mic. More announcements are coming. I think we have at least two features who will be with us on the month of March. I'll hopefully be able to announce who's closing us out for this month of February, which has been pretty active so far. We've had a pretty active open mic. We've had some really good features. Mega Sood. We had the chalk song varsity team reading from their poetry collection, and hopefully more to come, and hopefully more announcements happening. I should make this announcement that the records. The records that were kept as doubles in the UMass Boston Library of all Stone Soup memorabilia. It was actually mailed to me, and I actually finally picked up the packages. So I have two unopened boxes of goodies that I don't think anyone has seen for close to 30 years. I believe these were collected during the heydays of the 80s and the 90s of Stone Soup and just dropped off at the library. The library still has copies, but these are the extras that they couldn't hold on to anymore. I talked with David Miller briefly about him potentially helping me find a spot for this stuff. But whether or not that happens right away, I'm definitely going to be scanning a lot of this stuff and sharing some interesting stuff. I think a couple of poetry collections, some open mic lists, some flyers. It's stuff that I just keep as JPEGs on my website and my blog, but this stuff was held on to pretty well. So looking forward to that. And looking forward to sharing that with you, hopefully as early as this weekend. Maybe during President's Day, I can post a couple of things too. But enough of that. Let's get to the open mic. We'll do a two round robins tonight, as we usually do. I think there'll be more people coming up as well. Thanks to everyone who joined by phone and who's joined online. Phil, aka Midnight, good to have you back. And happy belated birthday as well. I think I wish you a happy birthday. I just didn't do it Zoom face to face. So hope it was a fun one. We're going to start off with, I think someone just, I think the person who I was just going to call for here he is. Here he comes. Poor Ed Galt just, John Wisick just mentioned, how about Salem State? They seem to have a good creative writing department. That's true. I'll definitely look them up, and that might be one of the connections that David has, being a retired librarian. That would be very nice. And plus, Salem State is also home to the Mass Poetry Society, so hopefully there'll be some interest as well. In some way, I regret not having every single flyer and every single paper copy of the open mic saved from since I started doing this in 2004, but I know my girlfriend definitely doesn't regret that, because I don't know where I'd be putting this stuff now. I don't know where I'd be keeping it. And I was going to suggest maybe some other stuff be added to the UMass Boston archives, but I don't think they're up for that right now. So we'll have to see what happens. Oh, geez. And Ed Galt keeps on getting, I put him number one. This should have been this is the unlucky number for him today. I'm going to try one more time, and hopefully he'll be able to get back on and stay on. Although I'm not even giving him permission to get on. He's doing a Chris Fitzgerald. He's jumping back and forth on the whim. He's part of the Matrix now. I'll give him one more chance. Okay, Mr. Galt, I hope you can hear us, and I hope you are able to that doesn't sound good. Can you
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I put you first on the open mic before everything went haywire. Are you still able to read?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, I am. I'm ready to read. Sorry about before. I got a phone call at the last minute.
Oh, no worries.
Here is my poem. It's called Figment. About my working with a woman who didn't like me. So sometimes it happens. Okay, it's called Figment. When I entered the room
oh no. Damn it. All right, we're gonna have to pass on him, and we're gonna go to one of our phone people. Let's go up to let's ask her to unmute. and we'll figure this out. And just
Maybe I should hurry this up.
is this going to be the last time, or should I give you a few minutes to figure this out?
I think it'll be the last. I can just rush through this. I can complete the poem.
Okay, go for it.
It's a short poem. Figment. When I entered the room to relieve her up there, she passed on to me the staff tag and the security buzzer on the chain, which we all wear around our necks, just in case. When she gave it all to me, though, hell, she didn't even look at me.
I guess that was a quick poem. Okay, we're going to ask Nancy to unmute herself by pressing *6, and we're going to go with her.
Energy fades. Go to sleep, dear, and say, I want to feel rested today. What's that noise? Hum. I'm asleep. Yes, come. Sleep, come. I can't write. It's that noise again. I'll turn on the light. The neighbor's lights are out. No electricity occurs without a doubt. I can't write with or without my pen. The alarm clock won't work. Woe is me, for sleep lurks.
Thank you, Nancy. And while we're figuring out Edward's final technical difficulties, we're going to go to Miss Jan Rowe, if she's ready. All you have to do is unmute yourself, and you did.
Hi. This is actually what I'm going to say today. It's just a haiku, my only haiku. It's not technically correct because it has the title. And as somebody pointed out, we've been going to a live reading, an open mic for the Black Sea writers. It's every Tuesday, like 12:30 to 2, right, honey? And also we're going to be again at the Brookline Booksmith, March 3rd, Thursday night at 7. So this is the haiku that has a title, which you're not supposed to have, right? Okay.
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, it's called Ballet. Pliés on the platform, tendus on the train, late for Anna's again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And now, Mr. Galt, do you want to take it from the top just one more time? Okay, we'll see what's going on later. We're gonna keep on going down the open mic, and let's welcome up Mr. Philip Curtis, aka Midnight, to our virtual podium.
I should be unmuted. Let's see what I got real quick. I didn't think give me a second real quick. I was involved with work.
I try to avoid that myself.
I know it's a bad habit. Let me think of a haiku. Here's a fun one. Through the Black Panther, Marvel Avengers did learn that Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Good to have you back, you and your haikus back. Yeah. And now, I think it's time for us to go to one of our Shire members, Mr. Chris Fitzgerald. We call him Mr. Chris Fitzgerald. All he has to do is unmute himself by pressing *6. Oh boy. Are you and Ed sharing the same connection? Can you try that again? Can you unmute yourself?
Can you
All right,
hear
there-
me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. The first one's a real brand new one. The first two poems are real short. And they sound like they're about women's bums, but they're not. About true love always. First one's called Hypothetically Speaking. I love your face. I love your bum. I can't really say which one I like more. Hypothetically speaking, if your face all by itself and your bum all by itself went into the same bar, and after a few drinks, they broke out into a fist fight with each other, and that cascaded into a barroom brawl with all the patrons.
Oh, dear Lord. Is this the curse stream tonight? I think this might be the curse stream.
I think it has to do with Mercury hanging out in the shadow of some other planet.
Yeah, no kidding. I think Mercury's right outside my door at this point. Chris, are you there? Mr. Fitzgerald. This is what happens when they don't come out automatic, when they don't completely leave. They bounce back and forth in a weird state.
You hear that poem?
Can you try again? And this time hold your arms up so you can get the appropriate rabbit ear so we can hear you.
Okay. This is called Hypothetically Speaking. I love your face. I love your bum. I can't really say which one I like more. Hypothetically speaking, if your face, your bum all by itself, and after a few drinks, they broke up each cascaded into a brawl with the patrons having to choose sides. I cannot whose side I would be on. It wouldn't be determined by my feelings about your face or your bum upon entering the bar. It would have to be some new criteria. Say, for instance, some brass knuckles, as everyone knows, are illegal in Massachusetts. They're legal in Arizona and Texas. Did you break out the brass because of a genuine fear or because you possessed a mean streak that I didn't yet discover?
Okay. We're going to go to, up here he comes again. Okay. So we're going to go to next to give ourselves a little bit of a break. Mr. John Wezick.
Thanks, Chad. Here's the opening to a story called "The Cashier Always Rings Twice," and I think Ethan might have heard a little bit of this before. I was sitting in my basement office at 4th and Drothiker with nothing to keep me company but a bottle of rye whiskey and a bad attitude. Business was slow. It was already the 10th of the month, and Mom was bugging me about the rent. Then an American black bear walked in. She had a broad skull and narrow muzzle, covered with dense underfur and long, coarse guard hairs. "Is this the Pill Bottle Detective Agency?" That's right. I tilted back my fedora to get a better look at her. "Morris Pill Bottle, owner and general manager at your service." Being the only employee, that pretty much made me both, but knowledge is power, so I didn't tell her that. "Morris, huh? I thought detectives were supposed to have manly names like Dick, Rod, or Johnson." If you wanted to discuss Freud's theories, I said, you'd be seeing Dr. Feigenbaum, a Drucker and Forth are taking an intro to psych at the Antelope Valley Community College. What gives? My name is Ursula Fogbottom. I think someone followed me here. Tall guy in khaki pants and a pale blue shirt. Yeah, Ursula sat on her haunches. That's David Attenborough. He won't bother you. I poured a shot of whiskey into a clean glass and slid it over to her. I don't get many bears in here. At these prices, no wonder. Ursula wrapped her meaty paws around the glass, but couldn't get the hang of lifting it. I'll ask you again, what gives? I'm hosting a banquet and need someone to pick up some tofu, broccoli, and oyster sauce at the grocery store. She tapped her short, rounded claws on my desk. I propose to pay you a tidy sum to do my shopping. Just how tidy are we talking about? I asked. $5. That doesn't even fold my laundry. 10. Still leaves a lot of dirty dishes in the sink. 12. How about the lime stains in the shower? 20. You drive a hard bargain, Mr. Pillbottle. Ursula Fogbottom stood and extended her paw. Do we have a deal? I shook and watched her walk out the door. She had the full figure of someone who'd foraged berries and raw salmon in preparation for a long winter snooze. Smart mammal, but she got one thing wrong. I drove a Hyundai. I buckled my snub-nosed 45 under my trench coat and went shopping.
That's funny.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, John.
Hi,
We'll
Chad.
get you on the list. Good to see you. Good to hear you too. And let's see who we have next. I'm going to welcome up next Miss Carol Weston. And let me make sure she's unmuted. And looks like she's all set.
Well, this is a poem to Alex Gray's painting. Alex Gray worked in the morgue at the, I think, Harvard Medical School. Well, anyway, Longwood Avenue. And anyway, he worked in the morgue to study the human body. And then he seems to have a tremendous sense of light. And so I wanted badly to have his painting for my cover of my book, except that I not. Anyway, so this is supposed to go to him, and I'm taking about 5 years on it to get it to him. You blaze to the figure in Alex Gray's painting. You blaze, the golden spindle comes to me down from heaven through your halo, through your cadaver heart into your entrails. With your red arteries and blue veins, you press forward your foot in an eternal step. Your arm wrapped around the gold branch of lightning, fleck of electricity radiating around you. The rage of ecstasy cannot stop. The hand that reaches in the dark. Like you, we shoot the golden arrows of ourselves across the sky.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to take, we're going to go back to the people who we weren't able to hear from before. But before we do that, I want to clear the rest of the open mic. So we're going to go to Karen Scalani, who's regular open micer now and here in the open mic home for Stone Soup. And she's also a contributor to Oddball with photography. Let's hear her now.
Hi, Chad. Thank you. So continuing on my theme for February of writing odes, this is my ode to molecules. Can you hear me? Is it clear? Okay, just making sure. With a big bang, millions of tiny cells teeming with potential, scattered across space and time. Small collections of atoms gathered to form molecules. Together, they combined and recombined, life creating life. Colorful and richly diverse, beautiful, passionate molecules bursting with excitement, danced with joy, celebrating existence, painting worlds filled with amazing, wondrous, natural beings. Molecules blessed with pulsating creativity flew like ribbons in the wind across infinite space. Particles of light and dust, humming a designer's tune, sparkling with the magic of making new realities. Molecules looked into the faces of their creations as if they were mirrors and saw that they were good. Molecules of everything known and not yet manifest expand with the irresistible force of curiosity to write the stories of their creations. Then listen as their creations compose fresh stories about themselves and turn them into songs, diving into the pools of passionate playfulness, making more lovely things from fresh, unique clusters of molecules. The divine beings who already are change shape according to the whimsical desires of their creations. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Karen. And now someone who we haven't heard from for a long time, for well, at least a month or so. It's been a while, John. So our orator extraordinaire, who's now in the light, now in glorious light vision. He usually came in the shadows, and now he is with us today to recite. Let's welcome up Mr. John Stern.
Thank you, Chad. Let us get in our time machine and go back to 1969 and pretend we were in our car and turn on the car radio and we hear Nina Simone singing. Well, I'll give you the spoken word version. To be young, gifted, and black, oh, what a lovely, precious dream. To be young, gifted, and black, open your heart to what I mean. In the whole world, you know, there are a billion boys and girls who are young, gifted, and black, and that's a fact. Young, gifted, and black, we must begin to tell our young, there's a world waiting for you. This is a quest that's just begun. When you feel really low, yeah, there's a great truth you should know. When you're young, gifted, and black, your soul's intact. Young, gifted, and black, how I long to know the truth. There are times when I look back and I am haunted by my youth. But oh, my joy of today is that we can all be proud to say, to be young, gifted, and black is where it's at. So sang Nina Simone. A great poetic truth, I would say, but it does have one factual error. She says, in the whole world, you know, there are a billion boys and girls who are young, gifted, and black. Well, in 1969, there were less than 500 million black people, and not all of them young. But I say we should stick with the poetic truth there. We can skip a little forward in our time machine and hear Gerald Ford in 1976 at one of the bicentennial celebrations proclaim that Black History Month would be a part of the American calendar. And in a sense, like that factual error in Nina Simone's song, concentrating Black History Month on the history in the United States is a little, well, there are, after all, twice as many Black people in Brazil as they are in the United States, almost 5 times as many in Angola all by itself, and in sub-Saharan Africa, 1.4 billion, almost all Black people. So if we're really going to celebrate and learn about Black history, maybe we should be looking more to Africa than to the United States. And perhaps one place to go would be Haile Selassie's 1963 speech to the United Nations. Now, this is not his more famous 1936 speech to the League of Nations, but his 1963 speech to the United Nations, which made him the first head of state to have spoken to both the League of Nations and the United Nations. Haile Selassie. On the question of racial discrimination, to those who will learn this further lesson, that until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, that until there are no longer first-class and second-class citizens of any nation, that until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, that until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race, that until that day, the dream of lasting peace and world citizenship and the rule of international morality will remain but a fleeting illusion, to be pursued but never attained. And until the ignoble and happy regimes that hold our brothers in Angola, in Mozambique, and in South Africa in subhuman bondage have been toppled and destroyed, until bigotry and prejudice and malicious and inhuman self-interest have been replaced by understanding and tolerance and goodwill, until all Africans stand and speak as free beings equal in the eyes of all men as they are in the eyes of heaven. Until that day, the African continent will not know peace. We Africans will fight if necessary, and we know that we shall win, as we are confident in the victory of good over evil. Where are we to look for our survival? We must look first to Almighty God, who has raised man above the animals and endowed him with intelligence and reason. We must put our faith in him. We must look into ourselves, into the depth of our souls. We must become something we have never been and for which our education and experience and environment have ill prepared us. We must become bigger than we have been, more courageous, greater in spirit, larger in outlook. We must become members of a new race, overcoming petty prejudice, owing our ultimate allegiance not to nations, but to our fellow men within the human community. That's about 1/8 of Selassie's speech. It's a speech which is definitely worth reading in its entirety.
Oops. Don't know what happened there, but thank you, John. And it looks like we've been joined by at least one more new person, well, or one familiar person, I should say. We'll get him done before we move on to the people we may have missed due to bad connections and our musical interlude, of course. Let's go to first to, I'm sure he is ready, willing and able, or he would be ready, willing and able if we were able to actually see him behind his camera. But maybe if I give him a holler, he'll come in and he'll be ready to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's everyone welcome Bill. Why am I not surprised?
You set it up. That was your plan. You're the kind of guy who puts me into these things. I wouldn't do them if it weren't for you. I'm a very gentle soul. I am one of those people that Mother Teresa talked about when she spoke of those who walk the quiet path of love and admiration and respect. And, oh, damn, stupid timer. I don't know if you have the time to deal with timers, but I have to deal with this because I had to try, because, I mean, why? Excuse me, I was going to do something coherent. I'm not going to do it until I turn my timer off. Just a moment. Excuse my ill behavior and indolence. Having nothing of my own prepared, I shall instead simply steal from someone else. Who would be good? I think as I passed by his garden, I marked with one eye how the owl and panther were sharing a pie. The panther took the pie crust, the gravy and meat. The owl got the boon dish as his share of the treat. When the meal was finished, the owl of the boon got the panther's permission to pocket the spoon. Well, the panther took the knife and the fork with a growl and concluded the meal by... At this point, Alice was interrupted in her listening to the poem, and we don't know what happened to the owl, of course, but we can merely guess. Anyway, that's going to be my poem. I'm not to have nothing great to say today. It was a glorious day. My students, we talked to, oh God, my high school students, they're so much smarter than I am. I cannot believe how good these kids are. Why are they even listening to me? I would think that they seem like they know more than I do half the time. So I am confident about the future, man. If the future is the kids that I am teaching, man, the future is bright. Anyway, thank you. It's good to see you. I wanted to pop in and say hi. So.
We'll see you for the second round robin. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Bill. We're going to try and bring back Mr. Ed Galt, who I think has been with us this entire time since being cut off the fourth time and coming back after leaving the Matrix, being in the Matrix, and then coming back on. Let's have him go now.
Thank you for your patience. Okay, for the fourth time, you probably have this poem memorized by now, at least the first part of it. Anyway, this is called Figment. When I entered the room to relieve her up there, she passed on to me the staff tag and security buzzer on the chain, which we all wear around our necks, just in case. When she gave it all to me, though, hell, she didn't even look at me or speak to me. So nonchalant. It was as though I were not there. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I'm a figment of even my own imagination. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. And now I think I'm going to quadruple check one more time because Chris has been on. Chris Fitzgerald, he did peter out. So I want to see if Chris might be in a better connection and a better place. See if he wants to read his first poem again. What do you say, Chris?
You can hear me.
You're kind of breaking up.
You can hear me now.
You kind of broke up at first.
You can hear me speaking.
Yes, I can hear you speak now.
All right, I'll just read one short one. It's a brand new one, and it's called Hypothetically Speaking, and it's not really what it sounds like it's about. I love your face. I love your bum. I can't really say which one I like more. Hypothetically speaking, if your face all by itself and your bum all by itself went into the same bar, and after a few drinks, they broke out into a fist fight with each other, and that cascaded into a barroom brawl with all the patrons having to choose sides, I can't honestly say whose side I would be on. It wouldn't be determined by my feelings about your face or your bum upon entering the bar. There'd have to be some new criteria. Say, for instance, your face, for some unknown reason, broke out some brass knuckles. Brass knuckles, as everyone knows, are illegal in Massachusetts. They are legal in Arizona and Texas. Did you break out the brass because of a genuine fear or because you possessed a mean streak that I hadn't yet discovered? Can't we just get along? Thank you.
All right, excellent. I want to make sure these poems were heard because the first times they were being said, it was almost like Mad Libs poetry. There was every other word was breaking out, so you had to fill in your own. So then I took the knife into my hand. It was getting a little crazy. All right, and now, after all that, is now time for professional show business with Mr. Ethan Mackler himself, who has a gig coming up. Tell us about it, sir.
Oh, I do? All right. This Friday at the Walnut Street Cafe in Lynn, I will be performing with the Garage Poets. That's the poets Jeff Taylor and Anna Jeffrey, backed by myself on bass. And then Monday, I will be at the Midway Cafe, 8 p.m., backing Kevin. I forgot. His stage name is Falk U, and I forgot his last name. I'm sorry, Kevin, if you ever heard this. All right.
With a name like Falk U, I can see why you forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Yay, Ethan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ethan. And now we end the first part of the round robin with the oddball poet, oddball magazine columnist, poet, performer, mime, street artist, Mr. James Van Looy.
Thanks, Chad. And I have a piece here called Valentine's Day on the Duggarland Divide. It's called Valentine's Day on the Duggarland Divide. After 2 long years, continuous Lent becomes again for a 3rd time. So it's annual season beginning with giving up things just because we can do without. And then by being done with that, open a new space where we enter into that we were formerly too full to allow to come, and coast into what we really need, but couldn't even see waiting for us. So the internet, where ye olde YouTube starts sending me archaeological updates from Utrecht, Hayden, about Doggerland, this North Sea bank, now under the cold waters between Northern England and Netherlands, Northumbria, where my wife's people come from, and Holland, my grandparents, once all one thing there, in Neanderthal ice age of mammoths and saber-toothed tiger bones, now wash out on the new coast formed when a colossal avalanche sent a tsunami to cut off England from the continent and preserve those bones in watery burial graves of vanished animals and humans between the coasts upon which both my wife's and my ancestors once lived, which the ferry has taken us so many times from Newcastle to Emuden. Okay, and let me see if I can come up with a little song here. Oh. Sorry about this. Okay, here's a quick one. This is from a Dutch song. It's actually the chorus, and it's about coming home on a boat and seeing the lights of the Schelde, which is the docking area of Rotterdam. Zie ik de lichtjes van de Schelde, dan gaat mijn hart wat sneller slaan. Ik weet dat jij op mij zult wachten en dat je aan de kei zult staan. Zie ik de lichtjes van de Schelde, is dat ik in je ogen kijk, die zo heel veel liefs vertellen. Dan ben ik als een prins so rijk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Looy. And now we're going to start the second half of the round robin. I think this will go a little smoothly now because everyone's connections are a little smoother now. So that's always good. So we're going to start with someone who sounds a little familiar because we had to do a couple of do-overs, but that's okay. We are moving forward, and we're going to start with the man who should have started first in the first place, Mr. Edward Galt. Oh no. Mr. Galt? Okay, we're going to answer. We're going to go with.
Here I am.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Okay, hi. This poem is called Shooting the Turtle.
Mom, is everything okay?
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you, Ed. You're good.
Okay, thank you. It's called Shooting the Turtle. I saw this turtle on the road. It reminded me of so many of the turtles in my youth that I picked up and took home. I thought I might get a picture. So since the turtle wasn't going anywhere, not very fast anyway, I attached my telephoto lens, then got into position, only to be interrupted. I'm sorry, sir, I can't let you take a picture. the officer said. Then he cited the Patriot Act. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Galt. Whoops. There we go. Sorry, I just got an emergency call from my mom, or call. I thought it was an emergency, but she's just like, just want to know how you're doing. But she called like 5 times. I'm just like, can't you wait till after? Christ. Oh boy, this is the Mad Libs of craziness here at Stone Soup tonight. Okay, so now I'm going to ask her to unmute herself by pressing *6, and we're going to Miss Nancy Dotson. This is real life happening, people. There you go, Nancy. You ready to go?
Classical elements: earth, air, fire, and water. The world distinguished, alas, from heaven and hellfire, cultivated soil. Exposed to air, as freshened or aired, her charms vain display again. Burning principle, by heat and light of water, of winter, combustion danger, washing and drinking, falling from the clouds as rain, frozen as the snow.
Thank you so much, Nancy. And we're ready to move on. We're unfortunately, looks like Philip's not joining us again. Must have got stuck in his car. But Jan Rowe is right up in line, so let's have her go.
Hi. And plus, I want to tell John, north of Boston, I was looking for Bob Marley's War, which is that. And I did find my copy of it on one of his Bob Marley's cassettes. Okay, I'm reading something that somebody else titled, was in the 25th, January 25th weekly of the Black Seed. And I wrote it for the occasion. They had a service for Desmond Tutu at the church. He died around the time Thich Nhat Hanh died. And so here it is for Desmond. Tutu visited in prison Mumia Abu Jamal, who is serving a life sentence in prison. I'm unsure if Desmond Tutu's visit to Mumia in prison was before or after Mumia's transfer to Southwest PA, Pennsylvania, around Maxwell Relay Bell, near where I grew up in a small town with over a dozen churches. A large new prison there. Coal miners became prison guards. They cannot justify, but it was another bridge across the Monongahela flowing north from West Virginia to Pittsburgh. That new bridge ends the last ferry on the Monongahela. There's been one there for 200 years. Mumia reports that Desmond Tutu had planned to be a teacher like his father, but the laws changed in the 1940s. And since he was South Africans weren't allowed to go to college. So it kept him, Desmond Tutu, from going to college. And he turned then to the Anglican Church. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe. Alas, Philip Curtis, aka Midnight, won't be able to join us, or hasn't joined us yet. So we're going. Fortunately, we still have the lineup, and it's going smoother now. Maybe we should do 5 more round robins. We'll get it right. We'll get it right the first time after the 5th time. Let's welcome up. Once he unmutes himself, Mr. Chris Fitzgerald.
Okay, so you can hear me.
Yes.
Now, this is a short one. I won't be getting. This is called Wit, Spine, and Charm. Those are the 3 things I think makes the language into art. I tried sewing, rowing, and the occasional crossword. But until I put my hands on your ass while slow dancing in the living room of your apartment on Sawyer Ave, I had no idea how important my hands were to my pursuit of happiness during my stay on the planet Earth. You recall the next day, I gave up engaging in pickup games, playground basketball. I couldn't take a chance of hurting my hands. I mean, I would not have missed sewing, rowing, and the occasional crossword. But all the rest, all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And now we're going to move over to Mr. John Wesick with hopefully another chapter in his hard-boiled.
Indeed, there is, Chad. And I got to say, I appreciate you for the true showbiz professional that you are. You're showing it tonight, buddy. Okay. I grabbed a basket from inside the sliding doors. The dispenser of sanitizing cloths was empty, so I took my chances with the residue left over from employees desperate for a tilapia fillet or carton of chicken tenders on their way home from the daily grind of spreadsheets, corporate mission statements, and cold calling consumers to sell extended warranties for napkin rings they bought sometime during the Clinton administration. The produce section was a collection of afterthoughts from America's meat-based diet, a cornucopia of dietary sermons ignored by children and adults alike. I found the Brussels sprouts the broccoli between the Brussels sprouts and button mushrooms. Only 2 pieces remained. The florets were yellow as a Bedouin's urine, and the stalks as limp as an 80-year-old watching Barney the dinosaur while getting a root canal from Cinderella's stepsisters. Some guys might be into that, but I wasn't, especially at $8.99 a pound. Robbery, I muttered. The tofu was the ugly duckling in a flock of tempeh, hummus, vegan hot dogs, and impossible beef Wellington. I collected 2 packs along with a bottle of Lee Kum Kee oyster sauce from the Asian section. When I returned to the produce section for one last look, the broccoli was gone.
Bastards. Thank you so much, John. Yeah, me and Kermit the Frog, we got the show going. And on that note, let's welcome up the always lovely Carol Weston. Yeah. Okay, Carol Weston, I'm unmuting you now.
Hi.
Hey, Carol.
Yeah. I want this girl, Karen, who was number 6. I like your poem, The Molecule. I wish I could have a copy. Anyway, so this is to Garrett Lansing, poet of magic and history, who lived in Gloucester. Amazing man until a few years ago. Anyway, to Garrett, I saw you crawl across your lawn after your cat Hector. It was he who, when you had your heart attack, pulled you across mountains in your dream and saved you. When I first came to your Gloucester house, my feet were pulled down into the boards. I didn't want to leave. You handed me a negative of a print by Max Ernst of a large flying man pulled down by Lilliputians. Were you that flying man? Some years before your death, you said, there is no inanimate thing. To Garrett, what is it about this man of magic? He flows with the tides, keeps in touch with the moon, knows the lives of the creatures, the books of the alchemists, rises at dawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And speaking of that person who wrote the Molecule poem, here's Karen Scalani coming up again.
How do you spell her name?
I don't know. Try with a Z. No, it's actually Szklany.
I see.
All
How do you
right.
pronounce that, Karen?
Whoops, you're muted.
Yeah. It's Scalani.
That's what I thought.
Basically, the Z is silent. Ignore it. And it's Scalani. It's a very quiet Z. So thank you. This next poem is called Music Flows Through Me. Music like water flows through me, washing away my worries, doubts, and fears, drawing from the faith within to set my soul dancing like diamonds on sun-splashed water droplets. Ripples of music gladden my heart, soothe my soul. My ears feast on the cornucopia of playful notes. The world's magic enlivens my senses most vividly when I'm listening to music. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Very nice.
Oh, and speaking of very nice, up next, Mr. John Sturm.
Let's start with some William Butler Yeats, The Pity of Love. A pity beyond Try again. A pity beyond all telling is hid in the heart of love. The folk who are buying and selling, the clouds on their journey above, the cold wet winds ever blowing, and the shadowy hazel grove where the mouse gray waters are flowing, threaten the head that I love. And another Yeats, from Fergus and the Druid. This whole day have I followed in the rocks, and you have changed and flowed from shape to shape, first as a raven on whose ancient wings scarcely a feather lingered. Then you seemed a weasel, moving on from stone to stone, and now at last you wear a human shape, a thin gray man half lost in gathering night. And another Yeats, Down by the Sally Gardens. Down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree, but I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder, she laid her snow-white hand. She bid me take life easy, as the grass grows on the weirs, but I was young and foolish, and now am full of tears. And yet another Yeats, The Sorrow of Love. The quarrel of the sparrow in the eaves, the full round moon and the star-laden sky, and the loud song of the ever-singing leaves had hid away earth's old and weary cry. And then you came with those red mournful lips, and with you came the whole of the world's tears, and all the sorrows of her laboring ships, and all the burden of her myriad years. And now the sparrows warring in the eaves, the curd pale moon, the white stars in the sky, and the loud chaunting of the unquiet leaves are shaken with earth's old and weary cry. I'd like to finish with E. Cummings. When serpents bargain for the right to squirm, and the sun strikes to gain a living wage, when thorns regard their roses with alarm, and rainbows are insured against old age, when every thrush may sing no new moon in, if all screech owls have not okayed his voice, and any wave signs on the dotted line, or else an ocean is compelled to close, when the oak begs permission of the birch to make an acorn, valleys accuse their mountains of having altitude, and March denounces April as a saboteur, then we'll believe in that incredible unanimal mankind, and not until.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And now let's see if we can pull something out of his. I mean, let's see if he's got one more poem and one more moment of inspiration. Let's welcome up Bill Lewis.
With someone like Chad introducing me, how could I have anything but the inspiration of the gods themselves? Their thoughts come down, flow into my head, spinning circles and coming out in beautiful prose and melody of music and words together. Oh, Chad, my glorious Chad, when you do well, I feel so glad. Oh, Chad, you drive me crazy mad. You're my friend, my darling, my little Chad. Oh, go jump in a lake.
There's chocolate on your nose.
Dishes piled, dishing dirt. Dishes in the sink, they hurt. Dirt and garbage scattered around in the trash can on the ground. What a horror, what a mess. Why am I with this shit blessed? Or cursed, I think is not my fault, that all this garbage will not halt. Housemates, I tell you, there's the rub. They'll cook and clean, but will not scrub. They will not clean, they will not tidy. They think are just all cool and mighty. Brought up by mom who always dotes and never taught them all the ropes. They never cleaned their rooms and now they won't clean anything. No, how? I scream and yell and shout and pout. They nod and smile and then walk out to down a beer, chase a babe, and never mind the mess they made. Well, fuck them all. I too will go drinking. I don't care if the kitchen's stinking. And I come home and the stench is so bad that I wash up. Damn, I've been had.
Thank you, Bill. And now it's time for that music. One more musical interlude, care of Ethan the Mac Mackler, Ethan the Pulse Mackler. Take it away, sir.
All right, the name I was trying to remember, Kevin O'Neill, who's one half of a duo you may have seen in Harvard Square on Palmer Street, Sean Deidre and Kevin O'Neill, guitar and voice. Well, Kevin wants to do his original stuff, so yes, Midway Cafe this Monday, 8 p.m. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Ethan. And we'll close ourselves out for tonight with one more performance by our our roving mime at large, our poet, the columnist behind It's All One Thing. Visit oddballmagazine.com and read it tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning. It is Mr. James Van Loy.
Chad. So I just got actually my piece here, which is called The Pantomime President, which is kind of about what being a mime. All of my mime teachers studied with Attain de Crew, the creator of modern mime, an elegant art form, geometrically describing the analase, the bodily curves, and an exhaustive analytical study of the human body and all its possible inclinations and rhythms. The great enemy of this system of individual elements was pantomime, that leftover street trick going back to the perennial philosophy of indigenous cultures everywhere, the tripartite vision of this earth and its underground and heavens, the quest of above and below for meaning here, right here on this banal, everyday earthly plane. The 20th century brought us the total pinnacle of the language of the body in silent film, only to dissolve under the pressure hose of sound, the spoken word, already a prophecy of the completion of the electric revolution, started, of course, by Boston native Benjamin Franklin, and perhaps the first crass research project ever. So that now, as we live with our lives with computers constantly, collectively, and collecting and mirroring our every move, we are stricken by our own reverse images and stagger down a hall of clicking mirrors. Good acting is equated with subtle facial tics, and mime is seen as the ultimate overacting. Fact is ever so much more compelling than fiction. No one could ever imagine the present world and its outrageous mime-numbing actuality. If you're not afraid, you're not paying attention. No wonder some preferred a pantomime president to this huge gesture of hate and arrogance and lies to what a half century of political opportunism threw up on the economic shore of legalized corruption. And actually, I got a full Dutch song here for you. It's called Afschied, Departure, van een vriend, from a friend. All this is for good gedaan, als jij er klaar voor bent. Ik heb aan je zijde gestaan, ook al heb je graag gekend. Ik blijf nu hier, jij gaat naar daar, en daar is niet zo ver van hier. We spreken af, ik weet niet waar, en daar ontmoeten we elkaar. Zonder jou tikt de klok even snel, maar de tijden veranderen wel. Dus ik neem afscheid, jij moet nu gaan. Weet dat je in mijn hart altijd blijft voortbestaan. Slaap zacht, je hebt het verdiend. Je fokt tot aan je laatste zoet. En ga nu mijn vriend, en droom voor je big opgelukt. Net zoals vroeger kom je wel terecht. Het weet je vinden thuis heel gauw. En ik herhaal wat jij mij ooit hebt gezegd. In mijn hart blijf ik je trouw. Zonder jou tikt de klok even snel. Maar de tijden veranderen wel. Dus ik neem afscheid, jij moet nu gaan. Weet dat je in mijn hart altijd blijft voortbestaan. En het weet ik zo dankbaar moeten zijn. Maar precies daarom doet het zo'n pijn. Zonder jou tikt de klok even snel. Maar de tijden veranderen wel. Dus ik neem afscheid, jij moet nu gaan. Weet dat je in mijn hart altijd blijft voortbestaan. Thank you.
Oh, poetry, a little song, a little hard-boiledness. This is many commercial interruptions, many intercepted transmissions. This reading had everything, everybody, and I'm so glad you guys were a part of it. I think even my mom made a cameo at one point when I didn't turn on the mic. So this has everything for the archivist to slave over 50 years from now, just like the items are going to slave over for the Stone Soup archives. I'm going to be scanning a lot of that hopefully this weekend, show you some stuff that hasn't been unearthed in a very, very long time. So it'll be a fun little time capsule that I wanted to have more of for the 50th anniversary, but we'll save it for the 51st. Thank you guys very much for coming out tonight, and hopefully we'll have more announcements in regards to our features for the rest of the month, feature or features. I will let you guys know as soon as I do, and hopefully I have a good closer for not just appropriate for February, but for Black History Month. I'll say that much. And hopefully we're going to have at least two really good features coming up for March, and more announcements coming from May. As I keep on asking that question, are we going to open? Are we going to get together in May? That would be nice, but I don't know. The Omicron that took me down for about a month is kept me. Yeah, I'm even more cautious than ever, and I hope you guys are at least staying cautious too, regardless of where you are. I know in some places in Massachusetts, the mask mandates are almost non-existent. So I hope you guys are at least taking care of yourselves, and hopefully we'll all meet again very soon. Until then,
Were you vaccinated?
3 times.
And you got it anyhow.
Omicron, you can get it just by thinking about it. If you're like meditating by yourself and you go Om, you fucked up. You got Omicron. That was, oh yeah, this one. And what's worse is that they're saying I had long COVID, whatever the fuck that means. I have no idea what it means. But basically, the effects stayed with me for the rest of January. In the point where, even though I wasn't diagnosed, I didn't test positive for it with a speed test. I was worse off than I was when I first had COVID in the beginning of the month. It's nasty. It's nasty stuff, and I don't wish it on anyone. It took me out, and I'm just barely starting to recover from it now.
May you recover fully.
That's what I'm hoping. And the rest of you, just stay safe. Trust me, you don't want this. It is not just a common cold. It's not just the flu. Leave herd immunity to the herd of lemmings going over the cliff. I don't need it. I don't need this again for the rest of my life. But stay safe for the rest of you. Take care of yourselves, and we will hopefully meet one sunny day. You guys beat me to the wave. All right, so we will do the wave. I think we got a perfect score. I'm sure Carol's waving in her heart. And we are good. Thank you guys very much. Submit to Oddball Magazine if you get the chance. And read Oddball Magazine if you get the chance. Hopefully I'll have some more good stuff. I've been reviewing comics and doing essays on Medium and the Ugly Monster, but hopefully I'll have something a little more substantial coming up in the poetry and even the Blackout Poetry department soon. So I'm aiming to get back to work. I like the new job that I started 2 weeks ago. I'm still working at the VA, but I'm in a different position, and it suits me down to the core. So, and I'm no longer running around like an extra 4 miles a day doing stuff. So suits
What's
my
the
old
new
ass
job?
fine. It's more administrative, whereas before I was running like 4 miles back and forth taking care of patients for a department that still remains kind of understaffed. The only difference is they're doing all the work and I'm not now, and that suits me fine. I get to see their numbers go up and envision them falling asleep at the laptop, at the desktop, wondering what happened to their lives. That was me for 7 years, and now it's them for hopefully another 2 before they all retire or die. We'll figure it out. But anyway, for anyone who's listening that happens to work for the VA, who listens to this YouTube video, I'm completely just kidding. It's fictional. I haven't worked since 1964. Anyway, let's all take care of each other, and more updates to come when I'm offline. Take care and have yourself a good night.
See you, Chad.
Thank you, Chad.
Bye.
See you guys soon.
Thank you all.